Discover the incredible truth. Billionaire's hidden funeral test transforms greed into heartwarming connection. Jack Thompson, a 36-year-old factory worker, never imagined how a single event could shake the small town of Maplewood. As he laced up his worn-out boots that morning, that day held something different. The news about Robert Sinclair, the town's enigmatic billionaire, was still fresh. His heart sank. The man had lived in a mansion on the hill, casting long shadows over the lives of the hard-working locals below, the same people Jack fought daily to support with his meager paycheck from the factory. He was just a blue-collar dad, struggling to put food on the table for his two kids, Emily and Noah. But beneath the weight of that struggle lay a fierce commitment to his family and community. Weekends at the local center were sacred, gathering what little time he could spare to coach kids soccer, distribute food, or just lend a listening ear. Jack often reminded his children that generosity mattered more than wealth. But as Sinclair's funeral approached, those values felt like fragile glass in an earthquake. Speculation ran rampant in the days leading up to the funeral. Gripped by discontent, townsfolk painted cheerful visions of potential inheritances while damnation swirled around them. Jack felt the tension thick and crackling in the air. He wanted to focus on what mattered to children, but the noise, the greed bubbling to the surface, tugged at him like a child vying for attention. "Did you hear? Word is there's a hidden treasure," Lucy from the diner exclaimed, her eyes lit with avarice. Jack's friends, once gentle spirits, became wolves howling for Sinclair's legacy. How could a man who had everything leave behind only division among the people he knew? As he walked away from their animated bickering, Jack stumbled upon an unthinkable detail about the funeral, a hidden test buried deep within Sinclair's will. Speculation twisted tight in his chest. What would it reveal about the very people he considered his friends? Would greed unveil itself, or would the heart reign supreme? On the day of the funeral, a sea of familiar faces sat in the pews, each whisper dripping with anticipation, each expression lined with tension. Jack felt like a soldier preparing for battle, and just as nerves threatened to overwhelm him, a thought struck: what if this test was about their true selves? When would it be unveiled? As he stood, awaiting whatever was in store, he saw Emily quietly clutching Noah's hand, their innocence shining like candles against the dark storm raging around them. That thought, their hope for a brighter life, tightened the knot in his chest. He inhaled, and just as he was about to step forward, a voice echoed through the hushed church. A representative of Sinclair's estate stood at the pulpit, paper trembling in his hands. The room held its breath, silence like a heavy blanket. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Gasps rose as the letter unfurled. Jack's heart raced. Moments elongated, the air electrified with uncertainty. What was the test? What truths about themselves would they uncover? Would it create a rift or close the gap? Jack stood there, eyes flitting between familiar faces now tinged by fear and confusion. The path before him darkened by the shadows of greed lurking just beneath the surface. Would he have the courage to navigate this turbulent sea, or would he too be swept away? The tension was palpable as the representative began to read Sinclair's last wishes. Jack felt his heart thumping, a drum roll in the silence. To the citizens of Maplewood, I leave not just my fortune, but a challenge. His voice was steady, yet each word seemed to hang in the air like a loaded question. Jack exchanged worried glances with Emily and Noah, their small hands intertwined, innocence clinging to them amidst the storm of adult greed swirling in the room. A challenge to build a community from the ashes of selfishness. The word struck Jack like a lightning bolt, igniting fresh waves of anxiety mixed with curiosity. What kind of challenge would he impose on people whose ambition had just been laid bare? Within the next month, the representative continued. Each individual must contribute to a collective goal. If the majority of you can accomplish this task together, the entirety of my estate shall be used to strengthen and uplift Maplewood. If you fail, a pause lingered, heavy with unspoken consequences. The estate shall be divided and given to the families who only seek personal gain. Murmurs erupted. Jack's heart sank lower as he witnessed familiar faces contort into frustration. Lucy's delighted expression faltered, her hungry eyes now puzzled. The sweet scent of potential wealth shifted into fear. Would they look after each other? Or would their allegiance shift to personal gain? What does it mean? Someone shouted from the back, anxiety rising with each uttered word. Jack felt a surge of determination. This was more than a test of commitment and community. It was a test of their humanity. The challenge is to pull together as one, the representative answered, now more animated. You must identify a common goal, one project that can benefit the town. Work together, learn to trust each other. If you unite in this endeavor, then the legacy of Mr. Sinclair will flourish across generations. Jack's thoughts raced. He could envision organizing a community garden, or perhaps revamping the old park where he used to play. There were neglected schools, crumbling streets, and countless kids begging for attention and resources. As the crowd began debating, Jack's voice broke through. What if we turn this negativity into something good? We already have so much strength here. His words seemed to ignite a flicker of hope, but doubt still cloaked many faces. Would they listen? Would anyone see the greater truth hidden behind the veil of greed? Let us make it happen. Jack pushed, adrenaline coursing through his veins. But the murmurs were already loud and mixed with skepticism. Would they fall prey to the divisive seeds that Sinclair's fortune had sowed, or rise above it? Amidst the clamor, Jack noticed Emily and Noah looking up at him, their small faces lit with a spark of faith. At that moment, he realized this wasn't just about Sinclair's money. It was about the bond of a community striving for something better together. It was about teaching his kids that hope could burgeon amid darkness. But would this seed of hope take root, or would it suffocate in the fear of the unknown? As Jack gazed around the room, he could see the tides shifting, emotions twisting like a storm. The real test was only just beginning, and he couldn't shake the feeling that the battle for Maplewood's future had only just begun. What proposal would emerge from the chaos? Would it lead to unity, or would greed reign triumphant once more? He had to find out before the flames of division burned too brightly. Jack stood at the edge of the heated discussion, heart racing as voices ricocheted around him. The room had transformed from a place of grieving respect to a battleground of competing ambitions, where old friendships felt fragile under the weight of greed. Why should we work together? Someone scoffed, arms crossed in challenge. Why would we trust each other when we all want the same thing? Jack could practically feel the ice forming between the townsfolk. His thoughts collided within him, desperately searching for a way to thaw the chill hanging over them. He couldn't let this island of fear drown out the whispers of hope still flickering in the corners of his mind. No, it doesn't have to be like this, he called out again, fiercely. His palms were sweaty, but the fire coursing through him wouldn't allow him to back down. Look, I know us. We've helped each other through tough times before. This challenge isn't about just the money. It's about who we are. Easy for you to say, Jack. A voice cut through, tinged with skepticism. What do you have to lose? He clenched his jaw, bracing against the weight of her doubt. His family had sacrificed a lot just to survive in this town, his children's laughter echoing in the memories of dilapidated playgrounds where hope had once thrived. They deserve a chance, he shouted, pointing to Emily and Noah. We all do. If we ever want our town to get better, we have to step up together. His passionate cry hung in the air before him, a bridge waiting for someone to take the first step. The room fell quiet, eyes shifting with uncertainty. Jack met their gazes, searching for a spark of understanding, a shared experience to ignite common ground. Remember? The flood last year? How we came together to help each other rebuild. He felt the energy in the crowd shift slightly. Faces softened, recalling that moment when they had all fought for something bigger than themselves. An older woman stood up, her hands trembling slightly as she spoke. If we can do that, what is stopping us now? A ripple of agreement echoed, voices overlapping, a sudden surge of collective hope. Jack felt his heart leap in his chest. He could see the embers glowing in their eyes' desire, ignited by the need for change. Let us form committees. We can create a community garden, fix the park, mend our roads. Another eager voice piped up, and soon voices joined, adding more ideas, suggestions swelling like a tide. The momentum surged. Jack felt buoyed by the communal energy weaving around him, a fragile unity blossoming amidst the chaos. Old grievances began to surface, but they were met with laughter and jest, overshadowed by newfound camaraderie. But as the excitement built, Jack couldn't shake an unsettling sensation. The challenge Sinclair had laid down was still looming, and with it came the threat of division. There was no guarantee they would unite in purpose, and whispers of doubt would always lurk in the shadows. He scanned the room, acknowledging the skeptical faces still hidden in corners, those whose hearts were not yet warmed by hope. Jack knew they had to address that fear. Embracing the challenge wouldn't guarantee success, but they couldn't afford to let the chance slip away. Tonight, let us create a plan, he said, raising his voice, a firm anchor amidst the rising tide of discussion. We have a month to show that Maplewood is stronger than anything that divides us. We have to start making choices that reflect what we stand for. A young voice in the back piped up. What if we can't reach a consensus? Jack's heart tightened. That was the question. What if they couldn't unite? The stakes seemed higher than ever, and the tension hung thick again as it settled back into the room. As he looked at Emily and Noah, their eyes sparkling with trust, Jack felt a spark of inspiration illuminate the path ahead. It was clear the challenge was not just about what they would build, but about who they would become in the process. Then we stick together. Even if it's hard, he asserted, locking eyes with each person in the room, an unwavering promise in his gaze. But as he spoke, the door creaked open, a stranger entering who would turn their tentative unity on its head. Would this newcomer help them fight against greed or serve as another wedge to drive them apart? Jack felt a wave of apprehension wash over him. What secrets lay hidden within this unexpected arrival? The door inched open, making a low creak that silenced the room. Everyone turned as a figure stepped inside, framed by the fading light outside. He was tall, with a well-tailored suit that seemed out of place in their modest town. The air chilled as whispers stirred among the townsfolk. Who was he? Excuse me, may I join? The man spoke with a voice that exuded confidence. There was an air of authority about him that made Jack's stomach twist. Who are you? One of the bolder men challenged, breaking the palpable silence. Name S. Marcus Grant, the stranger replied, scanning the crowd. I'm here acting on behalf of Sinclair's estate. Gasps echoed around the room. Sinclair's name had become synonymous with whispers of greed and competition. Jack could see skepticism carving furrows in his neighbor's brows. What do you want? A woman asked, arms crossed defiantly. Marcus smiled, but there was something unsettling about it. I'm here to talk about the challenge and the substantial funds at stake, he stated, stepping further into the room. But more importantly, I'm here to offer you an opportunity. Jack's heart raced, teetering on anxiety and curiosity. What kind of opportunity? Marcus leaned against the edge of the long table, casual but commanding, like a banker checking the balance of a ledger. Let us cut to the chase. I've seen the potential for something significant in Maplewood. Sinclair told me that if the community can unite and make meaningful changes, he'd match the funds raised, he said, his eyes glimmering like they held secrets of vast fortunes. And I'm here to ensure that happens. The tension hung heavy, a low hum vibrating through the crowd. Hope flickered at the edges, but skepticism held hands with greed, ready to latch onto any vulnerability. Jack felt the collective energy shift again, a mix of hope mingling with suspicion. What do you gain from this? He probed, his voice steady even if his insides felt like jelly. Integrity of investment, Marcus replied coolly. Sinclair believed in proving that community can triumph over isolation and self-interest. But for that to work, I need your cooperation. A murmur threaded through the crowd. Was this man genuinely looking to help? Or was there an ulterior motive hidden behind his polished exterior? Jack could feel the weight of decision pressing down. Just imagine, Marcus continued, letting the words hang in the air. What a thriving Maplewood could become if we doubled the available funds. A community park, a library, even a small business incubator. The possibilities are endless if you put aside your differences and commit. Whispers of agreement began to ripple through, but Jack sensed the divisions lurking beneath the surface. Some nodding heads belonged to those who had their own dreams tinged with selfish motivations. But we can't rush into this, Jack spoke up, determination rising within him. We need to know that this is real, not just another empty promise. We can't let greed drive us apart like it almost did before. But what if this is our chance? A voice protested from the back. Or a trap. Jack countered, emotions surging. He locked eyes with Emily and Noah, sensing their hesitation too. We could fall into the same pattern as Sinclair's vision, exploiting each other instead of truly coming together. Marcus assessed them, a slight frown creasing his polished facade. I wouldn't have come here if I didn't believe in your potential, he said softly, almost persuasively. This can be the moment your town transforms. But it starts with your choice. The room felt electric with conflicting energies, a tide of emotions threatening to pull them in either direction. There was an undeniable temptation swirling among them, a chance to prove their worth. But at what cost? As the voices surged and doubts faded in the face of possibility, Jack felt a chill against his spine. What if greed smirked at them from the shadows, watching and waiting like a predator? Together or apart, he whispered, glancing around the room at faces both familiar and new. As murmurs ensued, Jack's phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out, a notification flashing across the screen. A news alert about Sinclair's funeral, a lavish spectacle expected to attract the wealthy and the influential. Could this new opportunity be linked to the funeral in ways they hadn't imagined? What consequences would arise from this unexpected convergence? Jack felt the stakes climbing higher and the weight of their choices growing heavier. What secrets are we being pulled into? Jack wondered as uncertainty loomed larger than ever. The atmosphere thickened with unanswered questions as Jack gripped his phone tighter. Sinclair's funeral, the wealthy and influential? He murmured to himself, the gears in his mind churning faster than his heart could keep up. An idea flickered there, but it was entwined with fear. The crowd around Marcus seemed to come alive, voices rising in a mix of excitement and confusion. Jack's gaze swept the room, landing on Emily, who was still running her fingers nervously through her hair. Noah stood close by, eyeing Marcus with narrowed suspicion. Their reactions hung just above the surface had they picked up on the same dangerous undertones he sensed. Mr. Grant, Jack called out, his voice steadying, though his heart was a wild drum. If this is genuine, how can we trust you're not just another player in Sinclair's game? Marcus straightened, fixing Jack with an intense gaze. You think I want to be just another cog in this town as cyclical troubles? I assure you, I have no hidden agenda. I'm here for transformation. For you. The sincerity in his voice pierced through the crowded noise. Yet Jack noticed the faintest twitch of unease in Marcus's smile, a quick flicker, gone before anyone else could see. All I'm asking for is faith, Marcus pressed on, his emphasis slicing through the tension, and a willingness to work together. That is why I came here to talk about the challenge. If you can meet the criteria Sinclair left behind, we can rebuild more than your town's image. We can ignite a whole new legacy. The crowd began to stir again, hearts beating faster with the promise of something more. Jack took a deep breath, reminding himself of his instincts. If we're going to do this, he said firmly, we need complete transparency. No secrets, no double dealings, just the community banding together. Agreed, Marcus answered, his expression shifting to one of assessment. But know this, it won't be easy. Old grievances will resurface. It'll take unyielding trust and cooperation. Jack felt the weight of that truth settle in. Nobody in Maplewood had escaped unscathed from Sinclair's shadow. The scars ran deep, festering over time. And yet, was it too much to hope they could dry up in the light of something better? "I'm in," Emily said suddenly, her voice firm and unwavering. The murmurs shifted towards agreement, but Jack noticed the glint of uncertainty creeping back, especially in some of the faces around him. "What about you all?" he asked, desperation lacing his words, hoping for the unity they needed. As nods and whispers washed over him, hope flickered like candlelight. But just then, Marcus lifted a hand, catching everyone's attention. "If you are willing to accept the challenge, it's vital to meet tonight at the funeral parlor after Sinclair is laid to rest. I want to sugarcoat it. It might be the defining moment for Maplewood." "Tonight?" Jack echoed, feeling the clock ticking mercilessly. "That's soon." "Yes. And remember, tonight you'll not only confront your past, but also decide the fate of your future." There was a mixture of invitation and warning in Marcus's tone, a chilling reminder that everything hinged on the next few hours. As uncertainty clawed at the edges of his mind, Jack found solace in Emily's steady gaze. They had come together in the past, amidst highs and lows. Could that connection be the spark they needed? What will we find there? Noah asked, apprehension coloring his voice. Jack swallowed hard, feeling the weight of his friend's hope rest upon him. What if it's the chance to bury the past and build something beautiful? With murmurs crescendoing around them, Jack knew the stakes had just escalated dramatically. As they prepared to leave the meeting, he couldn't shake the feeling that the funeral was not just the end of Sinclair, but perhaps the beginning of a whole new struggle. Would they emerge unified, or would old wounds tear them apart again? The truth loomed ahead, dark and unpredictable, just like the whispered rumors about the wealthy attending. Were they there to witness a funeral, or were they coveting what might rise from its ashes? The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows that wrapped around the small chapel like a shroud. The air felt charged as they approached Sinclair's funeral parlor, hearts racing with apprehension and anticipation. Jack walked beside Emily, her hand brushing against his as they made their way to the entrance. He stole glances at her, hoping to find reassurance in her expression, but her lips were pursed with concern. "Do you really think this is a good idea?" she whispered, uncertainty pressing down on her words. Jack hesitated, the gravity of their decision weighing heavily on him. "I don't know, but we can't turn back now. We have to see this through." Noah lagged a few steps behind, scanning the gathering crowd. "What if Marcus is right?" he muttered. "What if this is our shot to change everything? Or what if—" He trailed off, the fear of the unknown freezing the air around them. As they stepped inside, the atmosphere shifted. The room buzzed with low murmurs, and a lavish decor stood in stark contrast to the somber occasion. Elegant floral arrangements adorned the space, but the sense of loss hung heavily, intertwining with the hope swirling among the attendees. Jack caught glimpses of familiar faces, neighbors, friends, and even those he hadn't seen in years. All had come to witness the end of Sinclair's reign. Marcus stood at the front, his charismatic presence commanding the space. He began to speak, but Jack's focus drifted. It was hard to concentrate with so many emotions ricocheting inside him. The funeral itself wasn't just about saying goodbye. It was a reckoning. "Tonight," Marcus declared, his voice steady, "is not just a farewell but a call to arms. We are here to confront what Sinclair built, while carving out a path for a better Maplewood." Jack felt a shiver run down his spine at the intensity in Marcus' eyes. This was more than just a community gathering. The weight of every hope, every pain, resonated in that crowded room. He looked at Emily, who met his gaze with a spark of determination. They were in this together, no matter what lay ahead. After the eulogy, attendees were encouraged to share their thoughts and grievances. One by one, people stepped forward, some speaking from the heart, others with anger as every haunting memory resurfaced. "I lost my business to Sinclair," a woman cried out. "He turned friends into foes overnight." Her voice broke, tears streaming down her cheeks. Jack felt the collective gasp around her, the shared pain tangible and raw. "Sinclair took everything from us," added an older man, shaking. "We owe it to ourselves and our children to reclaim what was lost." Jack's heart raced as he realized the emotional stakes grew deeper with every word. Each story layered the community's shared grief into something fiercer, transforming pain into purpose. At last, it was Jack's turn. He stepped forward, the weight of his own experience heavy in his chest. "We've all suffered," he started, drawing in a shaky breath. "But if we can channel that suffering into unity, into growth, we can dismantle the legacy of fear." He paused, locking eyes with Emily, and give rise to something truly beautiful. As murmurs of agreement rippled through the audience, Jack felt a rush of adrenaline. The dormant hope ignited, fueled by a sense of belonging that he hadn't felt in years. But would it last? Just then, a door swung open at the back, the sound cutting through the charged atmosphere. All eyes turned, and a figure stepped inside, a well-known face from the town's elite, someone who had been missing from Maplewood for years. The room fell silent. Jack's heart dropped as uncertainty surged once again. Who were they really here for? What did they possibly want? As the figure strode forward, the tension escalated, leaving everyone breathless. Jack couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the precipice of something monumental. Would this stranger bring salvation or destruction? The night was far from over, and the answers loomed just out of reach, leaving Jack wondering what he would uncover as the layers of their past began to peel away. The figure stepped into the room, and a hush fell over the crowd. Jack squinted, trying to place the familiar face against the backdrop of memories. It took a moment, but then it hit him like a punch to the gut. It was Evelyn Sinclair, the matriarch of the Sinclair family. She was a ghost of the past, someone who had vanished when the family's grip on Maplewood started to falter. Gasps echoed around the chapel, a mixture of shock and outrage. Whispers floated through the crowd. "What's she doing here? Didn't she leave us all high and dry?" Jack's heart raced as he tried to gauge the mood. He turned to Emily, who looked as stunned as he felt. Her eyes darted between Jack and the approaching figure, uncertainty mirrored on her face. Evelyn moved through the crowd with a graceful confidence, the weight of years carried in her measured steps. She reached the front and paused, surveying the assembled townsfolk. The silence grew thick, saturated with mixed emotions, fear, anger, and an inkling of curiosity. "Thank you for gathering here," Evelyn finally spoke, her voice steady but carrying a hint of weariness. "I know I haven't been part of your lives for years. For that, I apologize." She glanced downward, then continued. "But there is something I need to tell you, something that might change everything." The audience shifted, intrigue peaked. Jack felt the weight of her words. Could this be the moment they had all been waiting for? He leaned in, willing her to speak. "I know my family's legacy is one of pain and exploitation. Sinclair built an empire, but at what cost?" Evelyn's eyes shone with a mixture of pain and regret. "I witnessed firsthand the destruction it wrought, friends turned against each other, families ruined. I couldn't bear it, so I left." A murmur rippled through the attendees. Jack realized they were finally hearing a truth they had long needed. "I returned tonight," Evelyn continued, "to confront the past, to make amends." She paused, her expression resolute. "I have a proposition for our community, a way to start new, to break free from the shadows Sinclair cast over us. But it requires your willingness to trust again." "Trust? After everything?" someone shouted from the back. A murmur of agreement followed, echoing the disbelief rippling through the crowd. Evelyn stood firm. "Trust doesn't come easily. I know that. But I'm here to take responsibility for my part. This isn't about saving my family name. It's about giving us a chance to rebuild, to turn this pain into something powerful." Jack's mind raced. Could this be a trap? Or was it the olive branch they all needed? As whispers swirled, he recalled the stories shared before loss, anger, resolution. Before he could respond, Marcus stepped forward, his brow furrowed. What do you mean by rebuilding? What offerings do you bring to this table? Evelyn took a deep breath, looking at each person in the room as if searching for connection. I'm prepared to invest back into Maplewood, she declared, her voice gaining strength, to help restore the businesses, to support the families still struggling. But I need your input, your voices, in deciding what that looks like. The room stirred with mixed reactions, some hopeful, some still skeptical. Jack could feel tension in the air, the flickering light of hope battling against years of resentment. What if this is another scheme? Noah murmured beside him. Jack couldn't deny the fear creeping into his chest, but he felt that familiar spark of hope coursing through him again. What if this time it's real? Evelyn smiled softly, sensing the hesitations. You have every right to question my motives. But the real question is, are you willing to embrace the possibility of change? As those words resonated with the crowd, Jack felt the atmosphere shift. They were standing at a crossroads, and the choices they made now could define their future. But just then, someone from the back yelled, "What if we say no?" The question hung in the air, barbed and dangerous. Everyone turned to see who had dared to speak. Jack felt a wave of uncertainty crash over him. Again, would they move forward together, or would the weight of history pull them back into darkness? The next moments were critical, and Jack could sense that what happened next would determine everything. Would they seize this unexpected chance, or let slip away? The room erupted into hushed chaos. Cries of no and murmurs of disbelief bounced off the chapel walls, drowning out the air of possibility that Evelyn had so bravely tried to craft. Jack felt his stomach twist as he scanned the crowd, faces showing their frustration and anger. Who asked this woman to walk back in here after all these years? A voice shouted. It was Martha, the town librarian, whose determination was as fierce as ever. She doesn't get to come here and pretend like we owe her anything. Evelyn's face tightened, but she maintained her composure, holding up her hands for silence. I understand your anger. I deserve it, she said, her voice softer now. But I've come to recognize the impact of my family's legacy. Let us not dwell on the past. Let us focus on what we can build for the future. The future sounds great, Marcus chimed in again, his skepticism still evident. But how do we know you want to just take our ideas and run? What is your guarantee? Evelyn met his gaze with fierce sincerity. I can't guarantee everything will go smoothly, but I'm here to be part of the community, not to take from it. I want to invest in Maplewood itself, the businesses, the schools, the parks. I want to fund community initiatives driven by your voices, not mine. Jack felt a flicker of hope, but was swallowed by a wave of uncertainty. What if it was all empty promises? But then he noticed Emily, standing beside him, her lips pressed tightly. Her eyes were searching Evelyn's face. She was looking for something deeper. What about the people you hurt? Emily called out, her voice trembling slightly. What about my father? He worked for your family his entire life, only to end up struggling after you left. How do you that rebuild his world? The collective gasp echoed around them, and Jack's heart raced. Emily had spoken fiercely, cutting through the air like a knife. Evelyn's gaze softened, and for the first time, Jack saw a crack in her stoicism. I cannot undo the harm done, Evelyn replied, her voice low. But I can acknowledge it and take real steps to rectify it. I want to honor those lost years by starting anew. She paused, her eyes scanning the room again. What if I create a community fund managed by you, the people of Maplewood? This way, you'll have direct control over how it's spent. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Could it really be a way to bring them all together? Jack placed his hand on Emily's shoulder, squeezing gently. What do you think? He whispered, his voice barely audible. She turned to him, her expression conflicted. I don't know. There's so many broken pieces, then this could be a chance to put them back together, Jack countered softly. Maybe she's giving us the opportunity to trust again. Evelyn cleared her throat as the crowd simmered with conflicting emotions. Please, I implore you to consider it. This could be our moment to heal, to grow. But healing takes time, someone shouted. Can you give us that? Evelyn nodded, a hint of tears glistening in her eyes. I'm here, for however long it takes. You deserve that from me. And then, just like that, another voice broke through the cacophony, a stranger from the back. We'll trust you if you can prove you're worth trusting. Silence fell, each heartbeat echoing the weight of that statement. Jack's heart pounded in his chest. What would that even look like? What proof could be given? Evelyn opened her mouth to respond, but the question hung in the air, heavy and full of potential. As tension danced in the air, Jack knew that the decision the town made in the next few moments would shift the course of their community forever. Trust had become not just a desire, but an urgent need. Would they step into the unknown, guided by a flicker of hope? The gasps subsided, all eyes now on Evelyn, but Jack felt the pressure intensifying. How could they forge a way forward? In that charged silence, the future of Maplewood was at their fingertips, and a singular question loomed. Could they really work together to lift the ruins of the past and create something beautiful? Evelyn stood there, the weight of the town's collective gaze pressing down on her. She could feel the raw emotions lingering in the air: anger, sadness, betrayal. Each pair of eyes held a story, a history, a wound. This was not just about her anymore. It was about their shared community, fractured yet somehow still breathing. The silence lengthened, so thick it was almost tangible. Jack could see the confusion on Emily's face, and for a moment, it pained him. He feared this was just another game played by someone who had once held such power, but then he recalled her words, all the ways she had expressed a longing to make amends. Okay, Evelyn finally said, breaking the stillness. Let us do this together. I'm asking you to give me a chance, to help me create a plan that benefits every one of you. Let us hold open forums, gather your ideas. I want you to drive this. Marcus leaned forward, eyebrows furrowed, still skeptical. Talk is easy, but action takes commitment. What do you get out of this? Evelyn took a breath, gathering herself. I get the joy of seeing Maplewood thrive again. I haven't lived here in years, but it's where I spent my childhood. It's where my family started. I want to rebuild what was lost. I want to be a part of this community, not an outsider. The crowd shifted slightly. Jack noticed some expressions softening, but others remained stony. He felt a magnetic pull toward Evelyn. Her passion seemed genuine. Yet there was still that internal whisper of doubt. Jack's heart raced as he looked to Emily, who was still absorbing every word. What do you really think? He murmured, desperate for insight. I don't know, she replied, her brow furrowed. It's like she's trying to breathe life into the dead leaves. But how long until the winter comes back? In that moment, Jack felt a sense of urgency. Maybe this is our chance to break the cycle, Emily. If we stand together, things don't have to stay the same. Evelyn noticed their exchange and nodded knowingly. Emily, your father's hard work shouldn't have to be in vain. He and everyone else who stood by when my family thrived had a stake in this town. I want to respect that by doing right. But I can't do it alone. Marcus crossed his arms, unwilling to give in just yet. Trust is hard to earn, especially given our history. You have a long road ahead. I know, Evelyn said, a resolute determination shining through her eyes. But I promise I will prove myself. Let us start with something tangible, a Skillshare program, to teach each other what we know. Let us invest in our youth so they don't suffer like the previous generations did. A mixture of murmurs danced through the crowd. This idea of collaboration sparking something deeper. Maybe Martha piped up hesitantly. Maybe we start small. Does anyone else remember how we used to host those summer fairs? If we can come together on something like that, it could show if you're really committed. Yes. Evelyn interrupted, her enthusiasm palpable. Organizing community events is a perfect way to begin. Everyone plays a part. Soft nods rippled through the group, signs that a fragile thread of cooperation was beginning to weave its way back into their fabric. Jack allowed himself to hope. Could they really make this work? Yet the flicker of brightness was swallowed again as a voice from the back broke the moment, a deep, gruff voice tinged with skepticism. This is all just words. How do we know she won't pack up and leave again when the work gets too hard? Jack felt the weight of concern sweep over the room once again, stark and unyielding. The uncertainty crept back into his heart, asking yet again, what if this was just another false dawn? Evelyn took a steadying breath, the gravity of her next words tangling in the air. I'm ready to work harder than I've ever worked before, she declared. I want this to be a promise to every last one of you. But would her promise withstand the rocky path ahead? With each person in the crowd grappling with their emotions, Jack wondered if they could truly forge a future together or if they were destined to remain stuck in the past. As the murmurs resumed and the room swelled with uncertain resolve, another question loomed above them all. Was hope strong enough to heal the scars they carried, or was it simply another word with little weight behind it? The air hummed with a restless energy, like a storm holding its breath just before the thunder cracked. Jack's heart raced as he surveyed the crowd, familiar faces battling within themselves, hope and suspicion interwoven like a fragile tapestry. Emily leaned into him, her presence a warm anchor against the flickering doubts swirling around them. It's either an opportunity or a trap, Jack whispered into her ear, praying for clarity in this mess of conflicting emotions. As Evelyn held her ground at the front, a heavy hush fell over the attendees. They were grappling with the weight of their own scars, ready to unearth buried truths or to shut the door completely. Jack could sense the tension, a magnetic pull drawing them toward either unity or division. One step at a time, that's all I ask, Evelyn urged, her voice unwavering, cutting through the noise of their doubts. Let us engage in conversation about a community project. No hidden agendas, just clear intentions. Marcus shifted on his feet, clearly unconvinced. Talk is cheap, Evelyn. You have to understand the gravity of our histories. Can we really afford to trust again? Evelyn met his gaze, determination shining in her eyes. Trust isn't about the past. It's about choices moving forward. I'm not here to erase our history, but to honor it, to start something new. As the tensions slightly eased, a few people began to murmur their agreements. Jack felt a flicker of hope in his heart. I still say we can replicate the summer fairs. Martha chimed in, a hesitant smile breaking through her concern. It could be a test of commitment for us all. Let us host it at the park, another voice added, emboldened by Martha's suggestion. Revitalize the playground too. Give the kids something to smile about. Jack's heart swelled as he watched the embers of optimism spark anew, faces lightening with reverberated hopes, showing signs of life returning to the community, a heartbeat worthy of revival. Seeing Emily's eyes brightening filled him with determination. Why not turn it into a festival? Jack suggested. Invite everyone to share stories what Maplewood used to be, what it could be. If we can come together for something joyful, it can shift our perspectives. Excited murmurs erupted, many reaching across the aisle to shake hands and brainstorm ideas. Jack felt a contagious energy pulse through him, igniting the room like a fuse ready to explode into brilliance. Evelyn nodded, her eyes gleaming with fierce pride. That's exactly the spirit we need. We can work together to share our stories, because every person's voice matters. We can breathe life into the essence of Maplewood. But then, that icy voice rang out again. But what if this is just the honeymoon period? What happens when the newness fades? Jack winced, his chest constricting with old fears creeping back in. Yet, he realized this time felt different. This had to mean something. They were not merely aimlessly discussing dreams. They were collaborating over shared interests, forging connections. He turned to others, hoping to prompt more support. Evelyn's not asking us for blind faith, Jack replied, trying to counter the lingering doubts. She's asking us to shape our own future together. Isn't that worth exploring? Another face from the crowd stepped out. I think so, the man said softly. We've been torn apart too long by fear and greed. Maybe we give this a shot. Share our voices and contributions, see what grows from there. What do we have to lose? With the tides turning, an undeniable feeling of camaraderie blossomed. Attendees shared stories of hardship, joy, and resilience as they reopened nostalgic chapters of their lives. Conversations flourished, ideas grew, and the weight of the collective pain started to lift, revealing hopeful prospects waiting to bloom. Jack couldn't believe it, but the town became alive again. The children's laughter echoed in his mind as he envisioned joy back in the parks. Community fairs lighting up Maplewood with a kaleidoscope of color. As the night drew to a close, Jack stood shoulder to shoulder with Emily and Noah, surrounded by friends old and new. Looking toward Evelyn, who had ignited the spark of hope, he felt proud of their resilience, their ability to choose connection over fear. The revival wasn't merely about restoring the town, but about redefining who they chose to be. As Jake and the townsfolk clasped hands, embracing a shared purpose, he realized they were on the brink of something awe-inspiring. "Tonight we begin anew. Together," Jack announced, raising his voice, warmth swelling within him. The crowd erupted into applause, each clap a pledge, each cheer a promise. They chose to plant seeds of hope, dreaming of fresh beginnings waiting beyond the shadows. Jack's eyes met Emily's, and in that moment, he knew something extraordinary was unfolding. They had transformed their fears into the unity Maplewood desperately needed. This was just the beginning, but with courage, they were ready to face it together. And with that, Jack felt the thrill of possibility ignite within. This was their time. Now, as they move forward, the story of Maplewood shifts from tales of greed to ones filled with community spirit. The future was theirs to build, and the journey had only just begun. And you, dear viewers, this is where you come in. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel. Don't miss the next exclusive stories that bring hope alive. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm with the energy of positivity. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this jaw-dropping conclusion. And finally, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This hope to inspire others to believe in the power of community. Don't wait, not even one more second. Your support makes a difference.